Alright, what's going on everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic day out there today. I know today I'm having a great day because today's video is a very special video as it is my 100th video here on YouTube. It's only been 7.5 months since I started posting videos online, and it's hard to believe we're already at 100 videos. So here we go. Let's get ready for the next 100 more to go. And it's definitely been a learning curve for the last 7.5 months. When they say that YouTube is a marathon, not a sprint, they definitely mean it. I definitely probably had some unrealistic expectations on channel growth, but the channel's definitely been doing well. Thank you all for tuning in, checking out the videos every week. And we've definitely got a lot more planned going on. The content for the last at least 4 months definitely wasn't what I was expecting it was going to be. I was expecting to be out, going to a lot of different events. I'm going to like IMSA events and Ferrari Challenge events, different car shows. This week we're supposed to be at Car Week. And so that's actually what we want to talk about, is since the pandemic's shut down everything and cutting back on not being able to go to different events because the events are canceled, we're going to go ahead and for today's video, we want to give some highlights from past Car Weeks as a token of our appreciation for that event and our series of events, really, because it's a whole week of just all sorts of amazing car shows all over the Monterey Peninsula. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. So for starters, it was going to be a very special car week for me this year. This was probably going to be our longest attendance for events. We were going to go down Tuesday morning and stay all the way through today, Sunday, and hit up virtually everything that we could. Starting with Carmel Ocean Avenue with their concourse on the avenue on Tuesday, and then ending today with the Pebble Beach concourse. And one of the really special highlights was going to be the McCall show on Wednesday night. We were actually going to show the Viper there. We were invited to attend that event with the Viper on display. Unfortunately, that's not happening this year, but the good news is, like many of the other events that I've registered for, the tickets have rolled over to 2021. So next year for Monterey Car Week, we'll definitely be bringing you coverage from the McCall event at the Jet Center with the Viper there on display. So look forward to that next year. I know it's a year away, but it'll be here sooner than we know it. So what's really great though about Car Week in general is, as an opulent and expensive events that they can be, you can actually do Monterey Car Week on a budget. There's so much in terms of free or low cost events that you don't have to spend a fortune to attend the show and have a great time. So if you've seen my video that I did at the beginning of the year about preparing for Monterey Car Week, I'll put a link in the description below to check that out. It's definitely worth your while if you've never been, because one of your biggest expenses and hardest parts is going to be setting up your hotel room. But I digress. We'll go ahead and get back on topic, going over some highlights from previous year's Car Weeks. And so with Monterey Car Week being a true takeover of the peninsula, you really have car shows everywhere, including your hotel parking lots turn into impromptu car shows. Last year alone, when we pulled up and went to the Embassy Suites, there were vintage Ferraris and Lamborghinis there in the entranceway to check out. Even at my hotel, we had all sorts of cars every day. I parked next to something different, whether it was some rad era Porsches that were really incredible, or some V12 Ferraris. There was even a twin turbo Lamborghini Huracan there in my hotel room parking lot. So there's just literally cars everywhere as the eye can see. Wherever you go, you're gonna see some amazing cars. So even we stopped by at the Spanish Bay Inn to go check out some of the merchandise they had there for sale, and lo and behold, out in front, you've got Koenigseggs and Bugatti EV110s. So literally everywhere throughout the Monterey Peninsula, you get to see some incredible, amazing cars. So Tuesday, I've never been, is the Ocean Avenue concourse on the avenue. And so next year, we're definitely gonna check that out, bring you some great footage from that. But Wednesday is the Little Car Show in Pacific Grove. And it's just a fun event where the cars are all miniaturized. You've got, I think there's a 1600cc max on the engine displacement. And so you get some really unique small cars, like the Trident. And it's such a unique little car. Last year we even saw a converted bumper car, vintage bumper car, into a road car. So you really get to see some amazing, unique cars, and it's right there in downtown Pacific Grove. I believe it's on Lighthouse Avenue. And they shut down a few blocks of the street, and you just go wander around and check out some really cool and unique cars that you generally don't get to see at other events. And then, of course, Wednesday night would have been going to McCall's and the Jet Center, as I mentioned before. That would have been my first time at the event, so I'm definitely bummed about not being able to go this year, but still super excited and looking forward to going next year and checking it out. So Thursday, though, is when things really start getting busy. There is a lot to do on Thursday, and we definitely cram a ton into Thursdays. For starters, if you don't want to spend the fee to go to Pebble Beach Concourse on Sunday, which I think now is like $350, $400 a person. If you want to see just the majority of the cars that are going to be there, you go to the Tour d'Elegance Thursday morning. And what's really awesome about this event is basically a lot of the cars that are going to be on display at Pebble on Sunday go on a 70-mile tour around the Monterey Peninsula area, go out to Big Sur, and they start at the Monterey or the Pebble Beach Equestrian Center right outside of where the Gooding & Company auction is, and it's free to go. So you just show up, park, and then just wander around and look at all of the cars that are on display getting ready to go on their drive. And then of course they start them up and take off on their 70-mile journey, and it's a really fun event to go to and check out, and of course it's free to attend. From there, the rest of the day we usually have a tendency to spend going to auctions. Sometimes we'll go out seeing practice at the Laguna Seca for the historics, but the auctions are really great because, again, it's another low-cost alternative to going and having a great time and seeing some really incredible cars. So we start off by going to the Gooding & Company auction because it's literally right where we started with the Tour d'Elegance, and it's at the same venue. And so you just go in and check it out. Last year, the array of cars that they had was truly incredible. They had one of Niki Lauda's F1 Ferraris there, and it ended up selling for several $1 million, of course. They had one of the 6 Ferrari Sergios there for auction, and there was just an amazing amount of cars that were really, truly unique. Another Ferrari 250 TDF from the late 50s was on display, auctioned off, and it's just a great auction. Huge diversity in cars, really rare and unique cars that you just don't get to see anywhere else, and so it's a great place to go and check those out. So from there, we tend to migrate over towards downtown Monterey and go to the RM Soulsby auction. This is probably one of the biggest auctions that they have during the entire week. The catalogs that they get everywhere is just huge. And they have cars on display outside, they have cars on display inside, and there's just so many types of cars and high-end cars, rare cars, and just truly a great auction. And I'd probably recommend, if you were only go to one auction during Car Week, you'd probably want to go and check out the RM auction just because of the diversity and the caliber of cars that they get. They had, last year they auctioned off a McLaren F1 that I believe set a record at around like $19 million. And so being able to get up close to that car was pretty special. Of course, they also had a Vector, which you rarely ever get to see a Vector because they're such a rare car. They auctioned off the very first Porsche. Now, granted, they had some problems auctioning off this Porsche, some miscommunications going on during the actual auction, and it ended up not selling. But being able to see the very first Porsche was a pretty amazing experience that not a lot of people get to do. And of course, they had your hypercars. They had Pagani Huayras and Ferrari LaFerraris and F50s and F40s. The list of cars just goes on and on. They even had an XJ220, Saleen S7. The amount of cars was just really, really awe-inspiring. And they also had a huge array of Aston Martins, vintage Aston Martins that they were auctioning off as well. Some incredible examples, some models that I had never seen before, and it's just really, really amazing to be able to check these cars out. The only real downside to the RM Soulsby auction, though, is its location, and parking can be a little bit of a challenge. There are a couple of parking garages in the general area, but you're probably gonna end up having to walk a few blocks to actually get into the auction. But that's fine because it's totally worth the walk. Of course, after that, we tend to go out and go to the Mecum auction. Now, the Mecum auction is very unique for Monterey Car Week because it's not just your traditional supercars and rare vintage early exotics from like the 50s and 60s, or your pre-war cars, your typical Monterey Car Week cars. They also have your muscle cars as well, and last year during Car Week they actually announced that they were auctioning off the Bullet Mustang, which, if you were paying attention at the beginning of this year, it auctioned off for, I think, somewhere north of $3 million, setting a record at the time for the world's most expensive Mustang. So being able to see the Mustang there on display, unveiled, was a unique experience, and then to have it actually sell in, I think it was January, was truly historic. And then, of course, if you're watching some of my earlier videos about rare Vipers, you know that about 8 years ago, I went down to Monterey Car Week, went to the Mecum auction because they had the Defender Viper there auctioned off for the TV show Viper from the mid-90s. Of course, it didn't meet reserve, but I think it got bid up to like $270,000, $280,000. And so seeing that car in person was definitely a dream come true because I loved that show growing up. Of course, as you know, if you watch that other video, you know that the fit and finish on that car definitely was not show quality, it was definitely TV quality. But Mecum has a nice diverse type of cars that they get every year, and so it's definitely worth checking out. So of course, one of the other benefits with the auctions is even weeks before, you can go and peruse their catalogs online and see what cars they're gonna have to go and cross the block. And then you can decide which auctions you wanna go to based off of which cars they have selling that you wanna check out. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can't forget the historics. It's a great racing event if you wanna see vintage racing cars doing what they're meant to do and tearing it up on the racetrack. And we went back in 2012 when they were celebrating the Shelby Cobra, and seeing all of those Cobras on the racetrack was a truly amazing experience, one that I will never forget. In fact, I even did a video earlier this year on going to those historics and what that event was really like. So definitely check out that video. I'll put the link in the description below so you can check that one out as well. And it's just a great event, a lot of fun. And we try to get it out to that event every year when we go down to Car Week. We're not always successful because we just have so much crammed into a single week. It's just mind-blowing. The fact that we can actually get to all of these things in 1 week and not just kill ourselves in exhaustion is also amazing. But it's totally worth it, and it only happens once a year. So after Thursday comes Friday, and Friday is one of my favorite days of the entire week for Monterey Car Week, and that's because we go to the Quail. And the Quail is such an amazing event. I mean, when they say it's the crown jewel of Monterey Car Week, they truly mean it. And it's such a high quality event, high caliber event, and it's just worth going if you can go. So when I say if you can go, it's not the easiest event to get into because you have to be entered into a lottery system to be chosen to be eligible to purchase tickets to attend the event. And then once your number comes up in the lottery, purchasing tickets tends to be really expensive. But it's worth every penny, and I highly recommend anybody who has a chance to do it, go check it out. I mean, last year it was amazing. We actually took the Viper, had it on display there. We showed it in supercar class, and it was just a really cool experience to be able to show that car. And the cars it was in the same class as it included things like Ben Sloss's Senna. I was parked next to a couple of brand new Ford GTs. There were several 918s. You also had some vintage, you had some like Lamborghini Countaches, a couple of Ferraris. There were some Koenigseggs, Bugattis. And the list of cars in that class alone was just amazing, and being put on the same pedestal as those cars was an amazing experience. And being able to hang out and enjoy that event was once in a lifetime opportunity that I will definitely treasure forever. And we've been going to the Quail for a number of years now, and it's always a great event. It's fully catered, and they get some amazing world-class chefs that provide food for the event. and it's just so much fun. Of course, we always look forward to getting the gelato every year. It's you definitely having a great time enjoying gelato around these amazing cars, and why not? And you also get to see some really amazing manufacturers having huge displays. And you get like Koenigsegg there. Christian von Koenigsegg comes out to the event. Last year they unveiled the Jesko there and had it on display. And that wing on the back of that thing is insane. And I've seen some really large wings on some cars, and some from the factory even, but this one, it's probably be a little hard pressed to find anything larger from the factory. Of course, McLaren's always there on display. Last year, De Tomaso was there, and if you're familiar with them, they used to make the Pantera, and they were there with their new car that they're producing. Saleen comes out, and they always have a display as well when they've got new cars. And then, of course, Pagani. And this is the place where I first got to see a Pagani Huayra in person, as well as sit in one. And it was just a great experience. And it's always great to see so many hypercars on display in one spot. And last year they celebrated 20 years of the Zonda, and they had a huge array of Zondas on display, all different types of them. And it was just really cool to see all these amazing Zondas in one spot. So you also get some really cool race cars on display as well. You get a wide variety of your great Ferraris, including your 288 GTO all the way up to the LaFerrari. Some incredible Porsches. You get to see like the 918s there, as I mentioned before, that were in my class. You also get like the GT1, 959s, anything and everything you can imagine usually ends up at the Quail for a high quality event. And then one super unique car that they had on display a few years ago was the Cobra Daytona Super Coupe. And this was a car, if you're not familiar with, when Shelby was building the Daytona Coupe, they were also working on a big block version, because all the Daytona Coupes had small blocks in them. But they were working on building one with a 427, and it was a bigger car, and it was called the Super Coupe, and it never got finished. Well, it was probably in the 80s, I think it was, someone bought the car and actually completed the project, and they had it there on display, all finished, and it was really incredible sight to see this rare one of one Daytona Super Coupe, and it was pretty cool. So one year they also had the super rare Ferrari. It was a 64 Ferrari 500 super fast Spider Americano. And it was a really unique looking car, and it was truly amazing design. And if you'd seen it back in the day, you may not have thought it was factory. You may have thought somebody modified it with like the side pipes and stuff on it, but it's a factory car, super unique, really cool design, and it's one of the types of cars that you're gonna see at the Quail. And then of course, you also get to meet some incredible people. They've had some amazing guest speakers. A few years ago, I saw Jay Leno drive in the brand new C7 Corvette at the time, and he had the head engineer with him. And also another year, they had Michael Schumacher there and giving an interview. Got to meet Michael Schumacher and got his autograph. That was really cool. One year, they had the 250 GTO set a record selling price at auction, at the Bonhams auction, which is attached to the Quail. And it sold for, I think, $35 million, setting a record for the world's most expensive car at the time. Now, of course, since then, we've seen the 250 GTO trade hands for as much as $75 million, and they're expecting that car to clear $100 million within the next 5 years. So being there in I think it was 2013, maybe 2014, when it sold for the record price, was pretty cool experience. Of course, it was a historic event, and definitely another memory that I will cherish forever, just from a benefit of Car Week. And then in addition to the car show itself, the parking lot tends to be a car show in and of itself. The amount of cars that you see in the parking lot can sometimes dwarf what you're seeing in the show. I've been there where they've had Enzos and F50s, Carrera GTs, Pagani Huayras, all sorts of incredible 7-figure cars just chilling in the parking lot. And so it's a great experience, a great event, and I can't say enough. If you get the opportunity to go and check it out, you need to check it out, because there's nothing like it in the world. So another great facet of Car Week are the corporate events. So a lot of the manufacturers end up doing various corporate events throughout the week, and you get companies like Bentley, Alfa Romeo, Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren are all doing amazing events throughout the week where you can go and talk with the engineers, test drive vehicles, relax, hang out, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Last year we did two. We went to one with Alfa Romeo where we got to test drive the Giulia Quadrifoglio in the Carmel Valley. Great time, amazing car, and it's really a brilliant design. It's a V6 twin turbo making over 500 horsepower. What's not to love? And they really did an amazing job with the design of that car. So being able to drive it there for Car Week was a blast. They had their event at a winery in Carmel, and it was a great setting, and they had snacks there. You get a water bottle that he had custom engraved and stuff, and they had some vintage Alphas on display, as well as some of their modern stuff. And it's just a great event, a lot of fun, cool place to go and check out and relax. We also went and did one with Porsche, and the Porsche event was insane. And I got to test drive a Porsche Turbo S, the 991 model, and it was a blast to drive. If you see my video on top driving experiences, I talk about it in depth there. And it's just a great time, a great corporate event. No pressure sales because they weren't there to sell cars. They're just to let you experience what Porsche had to offer, which I truly appreciated. And it was a great event. And I look forward to doing these types of corporate events at future car weeks. So Saturday during Car Week, you also get the oil stain of Car Week, and that is the lemons, Concours de Lemons. It is really an oil stain on Car Week, and they get the most dilapidated, run-down, disastrous cars that you can imagine. And it's held down over by the Embassy Suites, and it's a cool event to go check out. It definitely doesn't take itself seriously, and they have all sorts of classes, and it's a hoot. It's definitely unique. It's definitely not your traditional Car Week event, but it's something that you should check out if you want to laugh. Something different from the high-end cars is go down and check out the Concours de Lemons, because you won't be disappointed, I promise. Also on Saturday, you have Exotics on Broadway, which used to be Exotics on Cannery Row. That event is crazy packed. They shut down several blocks of a street on Broadway, and you get all sorts of exotics, all sorts of cars. Last year we went, Ford, actually some engineers drove through with a brand new GT500 Mustang. It's the first time I saw one in person, and so that was a really cool experience. Even you get like a lot of YouTubers showing up this one. Last year Shmee showed up in his GT. Also had one of my friends was there, Tim, with his Viper, which was great to see him out there representing the Viper community. I think he and I were the only ones with Vipers at events last year. There were a few Vipers running around town, but usually it was just him and I at events. So it's a really cool event, but if you don't like huge crowds, you might want to skip it, because it's literally elbow to elbow and for several city blocks, and it is insane packed with cars and people. So if you don't like crowds, you might want to skip it, but if you don't mind the crowds, go check it out, because it is another free event and you get to see some insane cars. So it's worth checking out for nothing else other than checking out awesome cars. So of course, all of these events throughout the entire week lead up to Sunday, the big day, the big event, the Pebble Beach Concours. And if you've never been, you need to go at least once, because it's truly a one-of-a-kind of event, and the cars they get are second to none. And these are world-class cars, super rare cars, and it's a great event in a beautiful setting out at the Pebble Beach Concours overlooking the Monterey Bay, and it's just an amazing, amazing event. And you get to see all kinds of stuff. So the Pebble Beach Concours has like the concept lawn where they've got a variety of rare cars, concept cars, first production cars. This is where I first saw the 2013 Launch Edition Dodge Viper back in 2012. Fell in love with it instantly. Got to sit in it, check it out. It was a really great, unique experience. Last year they had the Bugatti, I believe it's called the La Voiture Noire. I think it means the black car. They only built one of them. It's the most expensive production car built, and seeing it on display is truly unique. And they just have a variety of really interesting cars there on display year after year. And we had the Sesto Elemento Lamborghini there one year, and it's just really cool. And then of course when you go into the actual concourse event, it's on the golf course overlooking the bay. Seeing some of the yachts in the bay though, that can be the treat as well. And one year we saw this one massive yacht that actually had a helicopter on the back, and that is next level. That's several next levels. You also get some really unique cars. We've seen like the biggest collection of BMW 507s in one spot that I've ever seen. So that was truly unique one year. And they had this one royal family, I think it was a royal family, over in India one year, brought over a variety of cars, including one that looked like a swan. Truly unique car. You get to see some amazing stuff. You don't get to see a lot of American stuff, a lot of more modern stuff. A lot of stuff is like pre-60s, a lot of it's even pre-war. So you get a lot of older stuff, so just keep that in mind. They do have a hot rod class now, which is pretty interesting. Some iconic hot rods from over the decades, so that's pretty cool to see those. People are dressing up, really getting into the theme of the type of car they brought, dressing up in period correct clothing, so that's always fun to see. But yeah, the Pebble Beach Concourse is definitely an event you want to check out at least once in your lifetime, because it's a truly unique experience and definitely worth going and checking out. And so that's today's video. That marks my 100th video for YouTube, is covering Monterey Car Week from past events, some highlights, hopefully give you some insight into some events that you may want to check out at future car weeks, because a lot of these events, they happen every year with the exception of this year. So I hope you found this information useful and you found this video entertaining. So if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, give us a thumbs up, help us out with that YouTube algorithm as always. And if you want to be kept updated of all my future videos that I upload, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell as well, so that way YouTube will keep you up to date of all the videos that I upload in the future. And as always guys, I'll see you the next video.